Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a Giants therapy session. I'm going to call this. I say good evening. It's a better evening than last night, that's for sure. But K&K Sports Show, New York Giants football talk. Calling myself Dr. Kenny K today, and Dr. Rosen's with us as well. So, how you doing, Mister Dr. Rosen? I should say.
Yeah, well, we're all here today, and that's what counts. Uh, Understanding that it's only one game, but we'll get into it. But hey, it was one of the worst giant losses of all time. So, but hey, listen, we'll get into the details in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I couldn't get off to a worse way to start a season. But hey, if it's going to be at any time, let it be at the beginning of the season. So, that being said, it's like I said, we call this show, I should say, uh, little Giants therapy session. There's no agenda. Giant fans out there, it's a venting session, whatever you want to do. We're going to be with you for about roughly 30 minutes, and we'll hang out with you. Any questions, comments, anything you want to talk about, let it out, Giant fans, and we're here for you all. A couple comments, Mr. Mark Calderio, fellow Giant fan. Hi, guys. Horrible game. Absolutely, Mark. And Mr. Jody Moncrief from our good friends over there in Colorado, the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup, one of the amazing trio over there. Paul, keep your head up. You still have Notre Dame.
That's right. Go
And you know what?
Irish.
Yep. And you know what? I still got hopes too. The Miami Hurricanes right here. Got that right. We're
Yep.
2-0. So
Yep.
we got hopes, but I still got hopes for that we'll turn this around. Believed in our coach last year. But let's get into it, Paul. We'll start off with the opening kickoff. Why don't you give us your thoughts on that opening drive?
Yeah, I mean, listen, no Giant fan could question anything the Giants did on that opening drive until they got deep into Cowboy territory. They were moving the ball, they were running the ball. Daniel Jones was making great decisions on keeping the ball and picking up positive yardage. Then they had a penalty. Unfortunately, our rookie center, John Michael Schmitz Jr., had a bad snap and then unfortunately disaster hit when our more than reliable or fantastic field goal kicker Graham Gano had a kick block through no fault of his own, and 10 seconds later the Cowboys have a blocked kick return for a touchdown. I mean,
And yeah, absolutely, Paul. And I couldn't, agree more. And Kurt's chiming in, and I'm going to read his comment in a couple seconds because it's going to segue right into what I wanted to talk about. And Giants are up. Giants march down the field, sloppy conditions. We're running the ball down Dallas's throat, and like you said, couple miscues, bad snap, fluke play on the special teams. They return the kick for a touchdown, and the Giants get out of the run game on the second series, and then the rest of the game, enough said. And to me, the and you know what? I give Brian Dable credit. I watched his post game conference yesterday, and he blamed himself and the coaching staff first before the players. He didn't say anything. He said everybody, and it begins with us, the coaching staff. So Kurt's comments disgusted with the Broncos defense yesterday. But last night's performance, oh my God, one of the worst head coaching performances of all time. Uh, Mark Calderio, offensive line could not stop defensive line. And Kurt saying, can't wait till Wednesday. This is why you never pay below average quarterback superstar money. Jones will be done as quarterback after last year. Dable right behind him. Now, Kurt, I'm
this
gonna
is
let Paul. I'm gonna let Paul
yeah.
talk, but I am upset. It's only one game with the coaching staff, but I have questions on why Daniel Jones did not play any preseason this year. Saquon Barkley, no preseason this year. Uh, Darren Waller, no barely any preseason this year. Last year, you saw all the starters play. There was no job security for anyone, and the Giants were in midseason form at the beginning of the year, and that's why you saw the Giants get off, in my opinion, to a hot start last year. New year, he changed his philosophy. Let's talk again after week 4 and see where we are after week 4. Because I was just talking to Paul off air, and if I remember correctly, 2000 was the year the mighty Vikings came to town, NFC Championship. Chris Carter, Dante Culpepper, Robert Smith, to name a couple on offense. And
Randy
what
Moss.
we
Don't forget Randy Moss.
Randy Moss, one of the greatest ever. And we shellacked them, Kurt, 41-zip. And that was the NFC Championship game. Game 1, you have time to recover. Do I think we're going to recover? We're going to get into that later, but we do have a team that's supposed to maybe win 2 or 3 games this week. So let's go take care of business, one game at a time, and we'll go from there. And before I get to your comments real quick, Paul, Albert Knopper is another one of the Denver Bronco Roundup guys saying, howdy, y'all. How you doing, Albert?
Oh, hi, Albert. Sorry about your loss yesterday.
Your thoughts on the coaching staff there, Paul?
Okay. Without a doubt, every single part of that organization was to blame yesterday. The coaching staff did not look like they got the Giant team prepared. And for the life of me, I do not understand it. They seem to play well during the regular season, during the preseason. They seem to have decent practices from what I was reading. I'm hearing a lot of echoes, Kenny. I don't know what that's from. Anyway, listen, everyone is to blame, including Mr. Jones, all right? But I'm talking to Kurt here, all right? Kurt, you know football, and since this is Kenny and my Giant show, I'm going to say this. You know football as well, if not better than many of us and many of the people out listening to us. You cannot expect any quarterback. I don't care if it's Tom freaking Brady, and I want to use another word. I don't care if it's Joe Montana. I don't care if it's Dan Marino. I don't care if it's Patrick Mahomes. You can't expect any quarterback to be able to do anything with the offensive line that they displayed yesterday. I was going through some statistics, and I'll read you this. 7 sacks. Daniel Jones was hit 12 times. He was pressured at one point, 15 out of 22 dropbacks. Okay? That's utterly ridiculous. I don't care who the quarterback is. They are not going to be successful in an offense like that with the offensive line as terrible as that. Evan Neal, I couldn't have asked for a better draft pick, and they took him April of last year. I don't know what's happened to this guy, but he has turned into the second coming of Eric Flowers. I mean, he's playing for the best team in the last few years with Alabama in the best conference. We all agree, SEC. The competition is better than any other conference in college football. How this guy has come in and been not just horrible, but almost incompetent to the point where this past game, he was the 59th out of 60 offensive tackles. The guy standing next to him, the right guard, Glowinski, same thing. He was 56 out of 60 in offensive linemen in pass blocking. So they had 7 sacks. They probably could have had 17 sacks if Daniel Jones wasn't as agile and be able to move out of the pocket. No quarterback, I'm sorry, can ever be competitive in that situation.
Sorry, Paul, I had a little delay there. No, great points, Paul. I'm going to read a couple more comments here. Kurt Valenti, last 2 big games versus Philly, playoffs, and last night versus Dallas. Jones looked like a deer in headlights versus big-time teams. He's an average, below-average quarterback. Paying him $40 million is asinine.
He had less than 2.5 seconds or less than that to pass the damn ball in both games. How do you expect any decent quarterback to do anything in that situation? I mean, come on, Kurt. You know football.
We
I
got
mean,
Paul fired up.
I am because
It's
I mean,
therapy. It's therapy.
forget
Calm down.
last year, Kurt. Okay, we turn the page. You can turn the page on your wonderful Russell Wilson. All right, the page is turned. You have a new head coach. Forget last year. We have a new season. Forget the Eagle game. We understand the Eagles are better. Were much better. They went to the damn Super Bowl. Okay, they're better than the damn Giants. We know that. Enough of that already.
By the way,
Hey,
Albert
it's
Knoppers.
our show.
By the way, Albert Knoppers is doing great, even though the Broncos lost. And Jody's saying what's bad is Dak had 56 percentage completion, and then 150 yards, 0 touchdowns, and lost by 40. You know what, Paul? I'm going to play right in the middle because I'm on the. You know me, and I've been honest since the start. I'm on the fence with Daniel Jones.
Yep,
Okay,
you have said that.
right now that fence needs some painting. Okay, are we going to find the right paint for the fence or not? It needs a coat of paint right now. So you know what, Arizona this week. Let's see Daniel Jones, and then we get San Francisco on Thursday. Let's erase game one because, as you see, Dak Prescott had 150 yards. So the weather did play effect in the passing game. So let's hold off on stats for game one there. And I'll say that I'm on the fence, and let's see next 2 games. Let's see what happens.
As I said, every single person, including Daniel Jones, was part of that debacle. Okay, he takes obviously a good part of that beat down yesterday. That interception he threw, that second one, not the first one that bounced out of Saquon's hands for the pick six. But to say it's totally his fault is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah,
a team game.
exactly. Kurt's giving his opinions, and he's entitled to it. And he'll do his Broncos show soon. I'm going to plug his Broncos show. He doesn't know when he's doing it yet, but we'll be able to comment during his show as well. So, that being said, before we continue, let me speak about tonight's sponsor. Tonight's sponsor is Red's Restaurant and Bar in the heart of the Meadowlands, or MetLife Stadium. 35 flat screen TVs, awesome little Giants restaurant during Giants season. Please check them out in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Thank you, Red's Restaurant, for sponsoring tonight's show. Eddie Siciliano, Mr. Sis himself, all experts on that game.
We are.
Well, I think he's talking about Mr. Valenti too.
Oh, yeah.
He said they're all talking, you know what?
Yeah, exactly. I'll say it.
Well, that
Listen.
being said, I got one more I want to say, about the coaching staff. It doesn't just go for Dable. Okay, Kafka was off his game yesterday after the first series. You know what? Why did we get out of the run game? It worked in the first series. You run it, you go away from it, and then again, now you're down 2 scores, and they had no choice to go to it. The defense, it looked like Wink was it looked like like somebody was in Wink uniform costume with Halloween coming up, because you didn't see that aggressive defense that you usually see from him with the blitzing, and you got a sloppy conditions. You put pressure on Dak, you force some maybe a turnover or 2, and you get back in that game. There was no pressure on him the whole game, and I don't know if that's maybe because he's afraid of the rookie corners, but F's across the board except for the rookie corners. I'll give them a C grade because, as Jody said, 150 yards for Dak, 0 touchdowns. So somebody did something right. It might have been the corner, maybe the rookie corners. So
I mean,
so maybe that's something to look forward to going forward this year. Was our pass coverage was okay. Not going to say great. It was okay.
The Cowboys had 265 yards in the whole game on offense, which is unbelievable. I mean, I don't think they've held them to 265 yards in a game in years. But again, where is Kayvon? Where is Azeez Ojulari? these two guys were out having drinks across the street at Reds
Yeah.
rather than playing. I mean, I didn't hear them one time. I didn't hear their names one time the whole game during last night's telecast.
Yep.
Maybe you heard about them.
No,
They were MIA.
you know what? It goes to what I said earlier, and it's only my opinion. I mean, I've played football. I've coached football. You know, I've coached in the Pee Wee level. I've done scouting for the high schools. Practice, okay? You practice, but you play preseason games, and none of these guys played in the preseason. Kayvon Thibodeau, another one. You know, so maybe Dable took a different approach this year and said, you know what? We started fading towards the end of last season. I don't want that this year. Let's build off, let's see if we can muster a couple wins early in the season and then get into our regular season form after game 4 or 5 this year. Maybe that's his philosophy this year. I don't know. But that's the impression I'm getting is, when you sit everybody and don't play anybody in preseason, it's going to take a couple games. It's just how it is. Albert's saying the one person that gets on his nerves is also Kurt Valenti. I'm joking. He said Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd. I'm joking. Albert would never say that about Kurt. They're good friends of ours over there at the Denver Bronco Roundup. Just joking on that one. Mark Calderio saying Dallas offensive line is much better than the Giants. A lot of veterans on that Dallas line. And that's a good point, Mark. Getting Zach Martin signed right before the end of preseason was huge for them, because not having him anchor that line, you might have seen a different Dak Prescott and offense without him. Eddie Murphy, not enough therapy to get over last night.
Let's talk about the O-line. So now our best all-pro player, Andrew Thomas, may be out with the pulled hamstring, depending on the severity of it. Apparently, he injured it during the blocked field goal attempt. I read this afternoon, but he stayed in and played the majority of the game until it was the end of the game. But, I read something again today. In the last 10 drafts, from 2013 to 2022, the Giants have had only 4 startable players that they drafted. Justin Pugh, Weston Richburg, Will Hernandez, and of course, Andrew Thomas. Now, isn't that amazing that they have not been able to develop a competent offensive line all this time? Now, yeah. I know it was his first game as a rookie center. Center has a lot of responsibilities. I'm not going to blame John Michael Schmitz, who, in my opinion, is my favorite rookie this year. And I think eventually he will be solid enough to lead and solidify this line, hopefully. But it's amazing that they have not been able to find a competent offensive line like so many other teams in this league. And we all know it starts up front. I mean, regardless of what Kurt thinks about my quarterback, but hey, with a competent offensive line, maybe Daniel Jones will be able to play at the level that we want him to.
Yep. You know what, Paul? I got a question for the Denver fans out there. Kurt, Albert, Jody, if you're all listening out there, Andrew Thomas, Jody was talking to me yesterday, and I didn't know. Like, none of us knew Andrew Thomas was hurt. Jody asked me, and I said, I don't think so. Maybe, they just, finally took him out of the game. But he was dealing with that hamstring issue. My question to Jody and Albert and the guys, Dalton Reisner's out there. You guys asked me about Fabian Moreau a couple weeks ago when I came on your show. I'm asking you guys, what would it be in the best interest of the Giants to take a shot with Dalton Reisner? Eddie Murphy saying bring Pugh back. Eddie Murphy's also saying Kurt needs to worry about his own team. And Mark saying they should sign Pugh or Hartwell.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Pugh would be a very, very good player at this point. He's a veteran. I guess he's healthy at this point. He can't be any worse than what we're throwing out there every week. That's my feeling at this
And
point.
and I missed one comment. It's from your wife, Paul Luby, replying to Eddie, "Amen." And that was not enough therapy to get over last night.
Uh,
So hey, you know what? We're gonna do our second preview show, but again, if our second we're gonna preview the Cardinal game, we'll give you a date and time when we decide to do that one. But we are gonna do another preview show this week. Uh, uh, we'll figure out the date and time, and we'll get back to everybody. But Albert's saying if you think of a widespread scheme, then Reisner will work.
mm.
That coming from Albert, diehard Bronco fan, so I trust exactly what he definitely says about Reisner. So interesting.
Let
You
me
know,
let me ask you a question, Kenny. Evan Neal, obviously, he was horrible last year. He was terrible last night. How far do you go with this guy and continue to play him before, if he continues to play at this level, before
I
the Giants
it
say,
yeah, yeah. I think it just shows Paul how much depth we have at that position, and that's zero. And it's funny you said that because is it still too early to say Neil is a bust? No, Eddie. You know, Sis. We're obviously great friends, but we're also roommates, and we were talking watching the game yesterday. And Sis is also an Alabama fan, one of the biggest you'll find, and he said Evan Neal's a bust. Flat out said it. And I can't say he's not neither. He needs to dramatically turn it around, or we're seeing maybe somebody worse than Eric Flowers.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I know he must have good work ethics. I know he worked off season with Willie Anderson, one of the great offensive linemen in the NFL. I just don't understand the transition between practice and then the game, where he just can't make that transition, the footwork or whatever else he has to do, and I'm just not understanding why that has not translated into a better in-game technician.
Absolutely. And one of our other good friends and fellow Giant fans, Jimmy Eisenman, saying, "What's up, gentlemen? Hope all is
Hey,
well."
Jimmy.
Same to you, Jim. And Matt Pert has to go as well. Jimmy, last week I mentioned I want to start getting some Giant fans. Paul and I want to get some Giant fans on a show with us. So the invite's out there to you, my friend. You've been on with us in the past. Love to have you on one night when we do a pregame show. Uh, that being said, Paul, Eddie Murphy saying Flowers got better at guard. Maybe move Neal to guard. Why don't we uh, Jimmy saying I'm in any time. Why don't you give us your thoughts on the art side of the defense before we wrap up our therapy, Paul? I'm going to go off camera for 1 minute. I'm on audio, but I'm going off camera for 1 minute to set something up.
Talk about the defense.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on the
Mm,
defense. We talked about Thibodeau and that, but
yeah,
is there anything that showed any promise?
yeah. I mean, listen, you had
Who's
two
the other one on
rookies
camera?
on
They're
defense
pulling up now, so they should.
in the secondary at the corners. Clearly, there's always going to be uh, a lot of learn on the job, and that's fine. We expected it. They're going to test them. The Dallas receivers are excellent. They're veterans. They're going to test these young kids. And I don't have any problem with Hawkins getting a penalty. I don't have a problem with the fact that uh, Banks played aggressively. I want to see that in my young players. I want to see that ability come out and just let them play, get the experience. I want them to continue playing younger players. I think it's only going to help. With one game down, there's 16 more to go. I think in the long run, these guys are going to be proving that the Giants, with their ability to believe in them, are going to really, really like what they have over the course of the season. Uh, you know, it's it, it's difficult making that transition, not just from college, but in some instances where Trey Hawkins III was at Old Dominion, so he was playing at a lower level than a Big Ten or SEC school. But you know what? What he showed in practice, what he showed during the off season, he clearly earned the position enough that they moved the Dory Jackson to a slot coverage of slot receivers as that third cornerback. So, you know, given the circumstances of yesterday, I think they both will continue to improve. Banks, obviously, as a first round pick, was highly thought of by the Giants and Wink Martindale. He's going to fit into their scheme. Uh, in that aggressive style. Clearly, Wink didn't have the blitz packages that we were expecting from the Giants, but it'll ultimately come. And when we wind up getting the best out of these two young guys.
Great points, Paul. Let me get to some comments. Eddie Murphy, Flowers got better at guard. Maybe move Neal to guard. Jimmy's in with us anytime. Awesome, Jimmy. Got a question from Albert we'll get to in a second. Jimmy's saying this is a good point. Neal has a problem guessing what the rushers are doing, and he's guessing wrong. He has to trust his abilities and just get in front of the rushers. Pass rush still hot garbage from Eddie Murphy. Jimmy saying Adoree' I don't like as a slot corner. And Albert's comment, at least they tried to pass rush. We didn't see that much with the Broncos game yesterday. Albert's question, and I'll ask you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Giants' offensive line switch styles of offense? If not, then I do not understand the big problems.
No, they didn't. They didn't switch. If anything, they were more conservative on that first drive, and I think they tried to go to a more of a passing uh, second drive passing scheme, and but I don't see that they shifted offense in any way. I mean, I didn't see anything unusual, which in fact, which is what we thought we might see with some of the new added speed. But I guess maybe the weather determined that they were not going to do a lot of that. But in my opinion, watching that game yesterday, I didn't see much of a difference in their offensive scheme.
And Jimmy's saying he doesn't like Adoree' as a slot corner. I do if Wink starts blitzing. If Wink's going to change his style of defense, that's the question we should be asking. You know, did the Giants change their style of defense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't see that last year's defense at all last night, and I don't know why we didn't see that. But I don't know why that. You know, maybe they were afraid that Dallas was going to throw the ball deep and beat our corners. I don't know, but you know, you didn't see much aggressiveness from the Giants defense. But I think Adoree' Jackson will fit that slot corner very well if the Giants get back to that aggressive defense. And again, Dak Prescott 150 yards and 0 touchdowns. If there's any promise from this, the rookie corners did a decent job against CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, 2 speedsters. So average, you know, I'm not going to say they played an A or a B. I'll say average. And everybody else gets an F, from coaching down to Daniel Jones to the offensive line. You know, you got to give everybody else an F. Saquon Barkley, you know, fumbling the ball, et cetera, gets an F. You know who gets an A? The fans, because they booed the Giants at halftime and even left. They didn't sit in that pouring rain, and they left at halftime. So I give the fans that were at that game an A+, and that's the only A I'm going to give. Couple more comments, Paul, and then we'll maybe get into our closing thoughts. Ran the ball first drive, then got away from it. Eddie, I said that all last night, all day today on our therapy session here. I don't get it. That's on Kafka. You know, he's got a that's his F grade. You got away from it. I don't understand it, and we all know what happened after that. Jimmy Eisman, what helped us last year on offense was the crossing route. I didn't see any of that last night. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Paris Campbell is supposed to be an upgrade from Richie James. Let's take this. Don't use the weather as an excuse, but let's see how we do better in the desert where we know it's 95% not going to rain. So let's see how we do in the desert and maybe get some of our speedsters and create some plays. Uh, Albert Knoppers is saying Russ had 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, a lot of conservative play there. 27 completions under 200 yards, a lot of short routes. Another team that's got to take some deep shots, in my opinion, if you want to be successful. Mark saying Waller, I will give him a C. He was only one catching the ball. That's a good point. He did play hurt.
yeah.
We got through the game. I'll give him a C grade as well. Good point, Mark. It's only one game. It sucks starting this way. And Jimmy, I know you came in late. I said 2000 Giants beat the Vikings 41-0 in NFC Championship. This is game one, like you just said. It's only one game. No matter if you lose 40-0 or by 1 point, 21-20, counts as one loss in the loss column. So that's how you got to look at it. Throw the tape away and move on. Final thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, you basically echoed what I was just thinking. One game, burn these tapes, learn from it. I think every single person hopefully went back home last night, came in today, and really are looking in the mirror, especially the coaches, especially each and every player, including Daniel Jones and Saquon and everyone else, and saying, okay, what do we need to do to improve? How do we get better? Again, it's only one game, it's only one loss. As I said to Kenny earlier today, there's 32 teams, 16 have to win, 16 have to lose that first week. So we lost. We lost by 40. It was ugly. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. But you know what? Turn the page. Let's start all over. They'll come in this week and move on to Arizona and the Cardinals. And let's hope we can get win number one.
Couple more comments. Albert Knoppers, good show, guys. Keep it up. And guys, please do us a favor. Check out Albert Knoppers, Keith Brugman, and Jody Moncrief, Denver Bronco Roundup on Facebook and YouTube. Give them a like. Check them out on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. They do a great job talking Broncos. I know we're Giants fans, but go out there and give them a listen. You'll be definitely entertained by their Broncos show. Kurt Valenti, go Broncos. You know he was going to get that in at the end of the show.
And that's fine. Let them.
And Jimmy saying, keep the tapes as a reminder that we got our butts whooped as motivation. You know what, Jimmy? I agree. Let's keep that, but not show it to the team until we play Dallas next time.
And you know what? Let me just add one more thing. 2007, the first two games of the year, the Giants went 0-2. They gave up like 80 points in two games. I think one was against the Packers. I may have been Dallas the first game also. Okay. And all I'm saying is that it's a long season. They have good players. They have good coaches. They have a good organization. Let's see what happens this week, and hopefully they'll turn it around.
And I want to thank everybody for commenting in. Of course, Kurt, helping us out with graphics as always.
Yes,
Jimmy
sir.
Eisman, great
Thank
to
you,
hear
Kurt.
from you. Mark Calderio, Jimmy, I mentioned, Mr. Albert Knoppers, Denver Bronco Roundup, Jody Moncrief, anyone else I missed. Thank you so much. Mr. Siciliano got a couple comments in there tonight, of course, thanking him. I'm going to make sure he joins us for some Giant shows this year for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely needs Sis on. I'm going to do that sooner than later. And I want to mention tonight's sponsor one more time, Red's Restaurant and Bar, East Rutherford, New Jersey. In the heart of the Meadowlands, they feature 35 flat screen TVs. So, if you don't like the Giants, you can go watch a Jets game. You can go watch a Bronco game. They may have soccer on. You may not even be a football fan. Just go there. The food's great. in the heart of the Meadowlands. You will not be disappointed. Red's Restaurant and Bar, thank you for being tonight's sponsor. And that being said, Paul, we're going to see you. We'll figure out the date and the time, but we will see you for next week, week 2 Giant preview game. Preview versus the Arizona Cardinals. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.